hell hath no fury like Ronda Rousey. But as it turns out, decent boxing and wicked power matches up quite well with fury, because Amanda went in there and molly-whopped the fuck out of her ass, bashed around the octagon like a piñata, and just gobbled her up like a fucking Pop-Tart. As soon as Amanda shrugged off Ronda's clinch like it was nothing, and it was clear she was doomed to stand with Amanda, the fight became a game of cat and mouse. The lioness just walked her down while Ronda tried to play hide and seek with her chin. There were a couple shots reminiscent of the Holly fight, where she completely froze up. You ever walk into a dark room and bang your head off something? Your eyes close, your head snaps back, and your arms go straight out in front of you? You're like a zombie pawing in the dark for a light switch. Well, that was the extent of Ronda's striking defense. A zombie pawing in the dark for a fucking light switch. On Fox Sports 1, Michael Rappaport suggested that the fight was stopped way too early. 48 seconds, he probably barely had time to get his underpants off. There was nothing wrong with that stoppage. Ronda was fucking done. No business in there with Nunes, outside of collecting a fat paycheck. I believe the term is flawless victory. A lot of blame has been placed with Edmund. Now, I'm not saying Edmund is a shady fucking shyster incompetent con man, but even if he is, in my opinion, less culpable for this loss. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It looks like if you gave Edmund 411 days, he couldn't train a dog to roll over. But that's 411 days Ronda should have spent elsewhere. Ronda was a gifted grappler long before she met Edmund. Her judo credentials are evidence of an elite athlete, and she has proven power in her hands. Basically, she had everything required to at least develop reasonable striking. Well, Holly Holm exposed the fact that after over 5 years working with Edmund, she still lacked basic striking fundamentals. Ronda's mom had some pretty stern words of advice for Ronda on the subject of Edmund.
He's a bad person and people should not go there. I think she stays there because it's like somebody, pitches a no-hitter when they're wearing red underwear and they wear that red underwear for every day. And I think it's superstition, and I would caution anybody from going there. I hate that guy.
Okay.
He's like the most worthless human being God ever put on this earth.
And when you couple those words with the suspicious details of his own combat record, the abysmal tendency of fighters actually regressing under his tutelage, the charges of identity theft, tax evasion, and bankruptcy fraud, then the writing on the wall suggested that not only was he a questionable coach, but he was one shady-ass motherfucker. Beyond that, though, there's one characteristic that is almost universal among great coaches, and that is that they're humble and usually have an almost zen-like calm. Greg Jackson's Corner Talk has all the benevolence of a father teaching a child to ride a bike. John Kavanagh is very much the calm before the storm that is Conor McGregor. John Danaher, the razor-sharp, laconic philosopher who might not say much, but what he does say is generally brilliant and insightful. Then there's Edmund, an impulsive buffoon with a chip on his shoulder who once claimed he could beat Jose Aldo and tried to get in Verdum's face after his fight with Travis Brown. With all that childish bravado, Edmund's attitude is basically the antithesis of what we've come to regard as the archetypical MMA virtuoso. And that was obvious to everyone. Everyone but Ronda. So, fool me twice, shame on me.
I would run over him with my car if there wasn't August. Yes.
Following Ronda's loss, there were a couple comments on my video suggesting that I had supported Ronda. And although that's a slight mischaracterization of my position, I understood where the comments came from. That video was in some sense supportive, and I'll address that in a minute. By the time the fight arrived, though, I was very much in Amanda's corner, and there were two big reasons for that. The first is that you simply gotta love Amanda. There's certain fighters, often Brazilians, who come from such humble beginnings that they must have never imagined they'd reach such incredible heights in terms of fame and fortune. When these fighters first get their hands around the belt, they almost have a sense of disbelief, and their gratitude is both palpable and endearing. There's a great clip online of a young Jose Aldo buying his first suit for a press conference. He just loses his shit, hysterical laughter, and you can tell that something as simple as wearing a suit was way beyond his expectations. He feels like Bond, James Bond, and the whole fucking thing becomes one big party. Amanda Nunes' entire fight week had that exact vibe. One big party. I'm just happy to be here. You could really tell the whole experience was just a joy.
Is it true that Ronda, she unfollowed you or blocked you on Instagram?
She unfollowed me, you know.
Is it really gotten to this?
She unfollowed me. I don't know why. Jeez, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
See this?
Were you sad
I think
about
so.
it, or were you happy about it? Were you like, good, I don't want her to follow me?
I'm okay. I play with the guy now.
Yeah.
Like, all over. But it's fine.
So cool and relaxed, loving every minute, go with the flow, never complaining. The girl has likability in spades, and I just couldn't root against her. But there was another big reason I couldn't support Ronda. Look, I can't relate to Ronda's behavior as champion. She was at times insufferable. But there have been times where the circumstances of my life have appealed to my inner douchebag. I'm talking about when everything is perfect. Getting a new job, nailing a degree, working out, eating clean, in great shape, feeling like $1 million. And that can appeal to your ego and bring out a cockier, slightly more arrogant version of yourself. Happens to people all the time, and it has happened to me. Now, when Ronda came to the UFC, she had some pretty blatant insecurities. She didn't have a chip on her shoulder, she had a fucking brick on her shoulder. She just was not equipped to deal with success, and what transpired seemed like a lifetime of pent-up frustration and resentment, which mainly manifested itself in terms of unbearable arrogance. So that's kind of why I was supportive. Ronda was what she was, but I didn't want to close a book on her, because I do think we got her under circumstances that brought out the absolute worst in her. And I would have loved the idea that she may have returned a more humble fighter, possibly redeeming herself in victory. The problem with that whole thesis emerged in the comment section of the video. I had mentioned that the interviews Ronda had done were possibly evidence of growth. But someone left a comment reminding me that Ronda had already been actively bashing Mayweather and McGregor, which is strong evidence to the contrary. The fact that she was again taking shots at Mayweather was especially worrying. I discussed this in that video, but when she got her ass kicked by Holly, the most gracious and sympathetic response in a sea of hurtful shit came from a man she had tried to torture in the media. Any normal person in Ronda's position would have read Floyd's response and been straight up embarrassed. But not Ronda. She was the exact opposite. Not only did she not regret persecuting Floyd, she took the very first opportunity to start bashing Mayweather again. Just mind-boggling behavior. I mean, Jesus Christ. Here we go again. The other man in the soundbite was McGregor. Now, bear in mind, this is what Conor had to say about Rousey's return. I'm happy she's ready to go again, and I wish her well. Shut them all up. Go and stake your claim again. Now here's a quote from Rousey. If money is a motivation, then fuck you. All these money people, Money Mayweather, Money McGregor, I see they're trying to do an angle or whatever. People buy it. The worship of money in our society is so deep. But just because that's the easiest way to keep people's attention or entertain them, doesn't mean that's the right way. Now nobody has milked their fame more than Ronda. She has cashed in on every fucking thing. Books, movies, magazine covers, the talk show circuit. You could probably buy a toenail clippings on eBay. I mean, Conor was booked to do a movie, but what happened to that? He canceled the fucking thing to concentrate on fighting. So her comments weren't about money. She was just lashing out, again, at the two biggest names in the sport. And that really suggests that all that jealousy and insecurity had been completely unaddressed in her time off and was all still bubbling away under the surface. Another thing I had mentioned was her motto, fuck 'em all. Again, I was kind of supportive of this, just on the basis of the rising against the odds angle. But when you consider it in conjunction with the above comments and the complete media blackout, The image I had proposed of a newer, humbler Ronda seems like a complete fantasy. She couldn't even face the media as a humbled fighter on the comeback. It seemed like she was waiting to be on top again so she could exact her revenge in a gross, what do you got to say now, motherfuckers type way. Now, I'm not saying all this to kick Ronda while she's down. In fact, it's the exact opposite. By the time the fight rolled round, I honestly felt the best thing for everyone involved, including Ronda, was if she lost. She just does not seem emotionally equipped to deal with success or failure. So I think it's time to call it a day. You know, in movies when someone is facing certain death and they make a single request, make it quick. Well, when the Grim Reaper finally descended on Ronda's career, it may not have been painless, but it was at least quick. Merciful Amanda Nunes put her out of her misery in a matter of seconds. That's all, folks. Or at least I hope it is. I'd like to see her go do something else with her life. Something that doesn't cause her so much fucking grief. Because although MMA was once a source of fame and fortune, pride and glory, since the Holly fight, and certainly moving forward, MMA looks like it's only ever gonna bring her one thing. And unfortunately for Ronda, that one thing is, well, pain.